In a future world where genetic engineering has become ubiquitous, a person's life is predetermined by their genetic code. The movie begins with Vincent telling his story. He was born naturally, without any enhancements, making him unworthy or ineligible in society. Vincent was given a prognosis at birth to live a short life of about 30 years due to his risk of heart disease and other genetic abnormalities. His parents Maria and Antonio immediately realized that their son would be at a disadvantage. So when his younger brother Anton was born, they utilized the services of genetic technology to create him flawless. From the time he was a child, Vincent felt that his life was limited and lacking in prospects. He was constantly reminded that he was unworthy and that he had no chance of achieving his dream of becoming an astronaut. He and his brother often competed by swimming in the ocean. One day they decided to swim as far as possible, and Vincent defeated Anton when he began to sink. This moment was a turning point for Vincent as he realized that he could overcome his limitations, even if society told him otherwise. Vincent leaves home and begins his life in the shadows, hiding his true identity. He works as a janitor for a spaceflight company. Every day he sees deserving people whose genetics are perfect pass through the doors that lead to his dream. He realizes he'll never achieve it without a drastic change. Vincent decides to resort to the black market and finds a kind genetic donor, Jerome Morrow. Jerome was a former athlete, but after an accident he was paralyzed and could no longer use his genetic advantages. Vincent buys his identity. Vincent now becomes Jerome Morrow. He goes through elaborate counterfeiting procedures, daily blood, urine, fingerprint tests, all to match Jerome's genetic identity. He carries around fake blood and urine samples to fool the company's screening systems. Jerome actually backs him up by helping Vincent by providing his blood, skin, and even hair to provide his disguise. Vincent meets a woman named Irene Cassini, who works for the same corporation. Irene is not perfect either, despite her genetic enhancements. She has a small heart defect that prevents her from going into space. However, she catches Vincent's attention and a bond gradually develops between them. Irene notices that Vincent, despite his seemingly perfect genetics, is acting strangely. She sees something unusual in him, but cannot explain it. Meanwhile, a murder occurs at the company and one of the top executives is found dead. This event triggers a massive investigation and agents begin taking genetic samples from all employees. This poses a huge threat to Vincent because one random analysis could reveal his true nature. He lives in constant fear of exposure, but continues to carefully hide his true identity. The murder investigation is led by Detective Hugo, who is a model genetically decent man. He and his team find an eyelash at the crime scene, and it belongs to an unworthy. Vincent realizes that the eyelash belongs to him and that he could be exposed at any moment. Irene also suspects Vincent of hiding his true identity. She decides to take his genetic sample and tests it, expecting to confirm his genetic perfection. But when the results show that he is unworthy, she is shocked. One day when Vincent and Irene are spending time together, they are unexpectedly stopped by the police for a random check. Vincent manages to avoid exposure by tampering with his genetic material. He explains to Irene that his fear of being tested is due to his unworthy nature. Vincent confesses to her that he is not who he says he is. Irene, despite her initial bewilderment, begins to understand him. She herself feels the pressure of society because of her genetic defects, and this brings them even closer together at the same time. Hugo continues to investigate the murder and increases the pressure on the staff. He suspects that the unworthy man he is looking for may work for the company and tries to find all possible clues to catch him. During the investigation, it is revealed that Vincent and Hugo are actually brothers. This revelation comes as a huge shock to both of them. Hugo realizes that his brother, whom he always thought was a loser, was able to achieve his dreams despite genetic predictions. Hugo, feeling jealousy and inner turmoil, nevertheless decides not to give Vincent up. The climax of the movie comes when Vincent is finally given the chance to fulfill his dream and go into space. He undergoes a final medical checkup before the flight. Dr. Lamar, who performs the checkup, has long known that Vincent is not worthy. However, he admires Vincent for his determination and will to live. Lamar decides to help Vincent by turning a blind eye to his impairments and allows him to take one last test. Vincent prepares for the flight, realizing that he has managed to overcome all the obstacles that the genetic system has put in front of him. Before the flight, Vincent says goodbye to Jerome, who has become not only an ally but also a friend. Jerome, feeling superfluous in this world after his accident, decides to end his life. He leaves Vincent his medal as a symbol of his past success and goes to the cremation chamber, leaving Vincent his place in this world. Vincent boards a rocket, going into the space he has dreamed of since childhood.